Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Our tale begins in a quiet, luxurious restaurant in the heart of the city. The air was filled with the soft hum of conversation, and the clinking of silverware echoed gently. The atmosphere was warm, elegant, as if every detail was carefully curated for an elite crowd. But Emma Brooks, sitting in a corner, felt none of that elegance. As she glanced at her reflection in the glass, she saw only a woman who didn't belong. Her dress was secondhand, her shoes scuffed from too many miles, and her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her napkin. "I promised Jenny I'd go through with this," she whispered to herself, steeling her nerves. It was her first blind date in years, and Jenny had insisted she needed to get back out there, to move on from her past. Emma scanned the room, her heart racing as she nervously muttered to herself, "Table 7. Table 7. She saw him. A man in a sharp suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, sitting alone, looking at his phone. He was the one, right? She took a deep breath and walked over to him, forcing a bright smile. "Hi, you must be Kevin," she said, a little too loudly. The man looked up, startled, blinking as he processed her words. His expression was a mix of confusion and surprise. Hi, Emma," he finally said, his voice low, almost hesitant. Emma, misreading his reaction as shyness, slid into the seat across from him, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. "I know this is awkward. Blind dates are weird, right? Jenny told me you might be a little quiet, so don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us." The man opened his mouth to correct her, but paused, glancing at his phone. The meeting he was supposed to attend had been canceled, and something about Emma's earnest smile made him hesitate. Instead of clarifying the situation, he simply gave her a faint smile. "Right, blind dates are something else." Emma laughed nervously, taking a sip of her water. "Tell me about it. Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy. You know, work." The man raised an eyebrow, curiosity tugging at him despite himself. "And what do you do?" he asked. Emma shifted in her seat, her discomfort fading as the conversation flowed. "I'm a waitress," she admitted, her voice laced with both embarrassment and pride. "Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills. Well, most of them, anyway. Enough about me, what about you? What do you do?" The man hesitated, then shrugged. "I work in tech." Emma smiled, her interest piqued. "Tech? That's cool. Like coding and apps and stuff." "Something like that," he replied, smiling back at her. His gaze softened as he watched her, and she noticed that his usual businesslike demeanor seemed to melt a little in her presence. The conversation continued, flowing easily, as if they had known each other for years. Emma found herself sharing stories of her life, her struggles with rent, the dream of someday opening her own art studio, the little victories that kept her going. It was strange, but she felt comfortable. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't worrying about the next awkward moment or the silent judgment of people around her. She was simply herself. "You're not what I expected," she said, her voice thoughtful. The man raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Well, Jenny said you were reserved, quiet, but you're easy to talk to." The man chuckled softly. "You're easy to talk to too." Emma beamed at the compliment, her nerves easing even further. Just as she was about to ask more about his work in tech, her phone buzzed. "Hey, Emma, where are you?" "I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Emma's heart sank as she reread the message. Her face turned crimson as she looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You're not Kevin, are you?" The man's smile faltered for a brief second, and he looked at her with a mixture of guilt and amusement. "No, I'm not." Emma's stomach churned with embarrassment, and she stood abruptly, grabbing her coat. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I sat at the wrong table." She turned and bolted for the door, her face burning. The man, Kevin, who wasn't Kevin at all, watched her leave, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He had intended to correct her from the start, but now, he found himself wondering if he would ever see her again and why the thought of not seeing her bothered him so much. The next morning, Emma woke up with her mind still racing. Her heart hadn't quite calmed down from the events of the previous evening. She sat up in her small apartment, the sunlight streaming through the window casting a warm glow on the worn carpet. She rubbed her face, trying to shake off the lingering embarrassment. I can't believe I did that, she thought. She had run away from the restaurant without even saying goodbye, mortified by her mistake. He must think I'm crazy. She glanced over at the pile of unpaid bills on the counter, the reality of her life weighing on her shoulders again. Despite everything, Emma couldn't help but feel a strange sense of excitement. There was something about the way he looked at her, something in the way their conversation flowed so easily. She had never met anyone like him. But what could he possibly want with someone like her? She was just a waitress, after all, struggling to make ends meet. Her phone buzzed, breaking her train of thought. It was a message from Jenny, her best friend. You okay? I was worried about you last night. I didn't know you were going to run out like that. Emma smiled faintly. She loved Jenny, but sometimes her concern felt like a weight. Jenny always thought Emma needed saving. Emma quickly typed a reply. I'm fine. Just a misunderstanding. Don't worry about it. She hit send, but the words felt hollow, even to herself. Emma stood up and walked to the small kitchen, the dull sound of her footsteps echoing in the quiet apartment. She began to make coffee, the smell filling the room and grounding her in the present moment. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the man at the restaurant. The one who wasn't Kevin. The one who had been kind to her, despite the confusion. She could still remember the look in his eyes, the way he seemed to hesitate when she ran out. She had expected him to be angry, to call her crazy, but he hadn't. Instead, he had looked intrigued. She wondered if he would ever reach out to her again. She sighed and took a sip of the hot coffee, trying to push the thoughts away. She had enough problems to deal with without obsessing over some stranger. But she couldn't shake the feeling that their paths had crossed for a reason. Later that afternoon, as Emma was finishing up her shift at the diner, her phone buzzed again. She almost didn't look, but something told her she should. It was a message from an unknown number. Hi Emma, this is Liam. The guy from last night. I know it was a mix-up, but I'd really like to see you again. Coffee maybe? No pressure. Just thought I'd reach out. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Liam? The guy from last night. He wanted to see her again? She stared at the message for a moment, feeling a strange mix of excitement and disbelief. Could this be real? After everything that had happened, was he really serious? She showed the message to Jenny when she got home. What do you think? She asked, holding the phone out. Jenny read the message, a smile slowly spreading across her face. Oh my God, Emma. You've got to go? He's a billionaire, right? He could change your life. Emma shook her head, trying to tamp down the fluttering in her stomach. I don't know. It just feels weird. Like, what does he want with me? Jenny shrugged, still grinning. Who cares? Maybe he just wants to get to know you. Besides, it's not every day a guy like that reaches out. You should at least give him a chance. Emma hesitated. She wasn't sure if this was some kind of joke or if Liam really was interested in her. But there was a part of her, the part that was tired of being invisible, that wanted to say yes. She took a deep breath and typed back. Okay, coffee sounds nice. When and where? She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The next morning, she arrived at the coffee shop Liam had suggested. It was a cozy little place tucked away from the usual crowds, and when she walked in, she immediately spotted him sitting at a corner table. He was dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, looking completely different from the polished businessman she had seen the night before. He looked up as she walked in, a warm smile spreading across his face. Hey, Emma, he greeted her, standing up to pull out a chair. I'm really glad you came. Emma smiled back, feeling a little more at ease now that she was face to face with him. Thanks for inviting me. Sorry again about last night, she said, taking a seat. No need to apologize, Liam replied, settling back into his chair. I was actually kind of relieved when you ran out. I didn't really want to talk about the whole blind date thing anyway. Emma raised an eyebrow, surprised by his honesty. Really? She asked. He chuckled. Yeah, it just felt forced, you know? I mean, Jenny seemed nice, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. And then you came in, and for a second, I forgot I was at a blind date. It was just a normal conversation. Emma's heart skipped again. I'm glad to hear that, she said quietly. I don't usually do this sort of thing either. She paused, then added, I guess I'm just not used to meeting people like you. Liam leaned in slightly, his expression serious. And what exactly do you mean by that? He asked. Emma hesitated, but then decided to be honest. Well, you're different. Most guys I meet, they're looking for something, you know? But you seem to just want to talk, to get to know me without any expectations. It's refreshing. He smiled at that, and for the first time, Emma felt a real sense of ease. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. Emma couldn't believe how easily the conversation flowed between her and Liam. What had started as a mix-up over a blind date had now turned into a comfortable chat over coffee. As they talked about their lives, their passions, and their dreams, Emma realized how much she had missed feeling like she was truly seen, like she wasn't just invisible. She wasn't sure why Liam had reached out to her, but in this moment, it felt genuine. "So, what's your story, Emma?" Liam asked, leaning back in his chair, his eyes filled with interest. Emma paused for a moment, unsure how to begin. "Well, I guess it's nothing too exciting," she said, trying to downplay her life. "I'm just a waitress. I've been working in the same diner for a while now, and while I don't mind it, it's not exactly where I thought I'd be at this point in my life." Liam nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I get it. Life doesn't always turn out the way we expect, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing." His words hit her in a way she didn't expect. For the first time, she felt like someone actually understood her. "I've been working at this diner for a while," she continued, her voice softer now. "But my real dream is to open my own art studio. I love painting, sketching. That's what I want to do, you know? Not just serve food, but create something meaningful." Liam's eyes lit up with interest. "That sounds amazing. Why don't you do it?" Emma laughed softly, a little embarrassed. "It's not that simple. I barely have enough to pay my rent, let alone start a business. It feels like a dream that's just out of reach." Liam looked at her for a long moment, then said, "You know, I've met a lot of people in my life, but you're different, Emma. You've got this fire in you, this drive. I can see it." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. She wasn't used to receiving compliments, especially ones that felt so sincere. It was hard for her to believe that someone like Liam, someone who was clearly successful and confident, could see something in her. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That means a lot to me." There was a brief pause, and then Liam asked, "So, what's stopping you from pursuing your dream?" Emma sighed, staring into her coffee cup. "Fear, I guess. Fear of failure. I've always been afraid of not being good enough, of not being able to make it. But I've been saving up for a while now, and maybe it's time to take a risk." Liam smiled warmly. "Sometimes, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the courage to take that first step." Emma smiled back, feeling a spark of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. The conversation shifted after that, and they talked about everything and nothing at the same time. For the first time in months, Emma felt like she wasn't just going through the motions of life. She was truly present, connected to someone who saw her for who she was. After a while, Liam checked his watch and stood up. "I've got to go, but I'm really glad we did this," he said, his voice sincere. "Maybe we could do it again sometime?" Emma nodded, feeling her heart race a little. "I'd like that," she said, standing up as well. "Maybe next time we could grab dinner instead of coffee?" Liam grinned. "It's a date," he said, and before Emma could say anything else, he walked out the door, leaving her standing there with a smile on her face. Emma couldn't stop thinking about Liam for the rest of the day. She had felt a connection with him, something she hadn't experienced in a long time. But she couldn't let herself get carried away. After all, what did a man like him want with someone like her? She was just a waitress with big dreams, not someone who could offer him anything of real value. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized she was tired of doubting herself. She deserved to take chances, to believe in herself. And maybe, just maybe, Liam was the first person in a long time who actually believed in her, too. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. Emma found herself thinking about Liam constantly, wondering if he really saw something in her, or if it had all just been a momentary connection. She kept her focus on her work and her dream of opening the art studio, but there was a new sense of determination in her now. She couldn't keep letting fear hold her back. By the time she received another message from Liam, inviting her to dinner the following week, Emma knew one thing for sure. She was ready to take the next step, not just for herself, but for the dream she had kept locked away for so long. Emma spent the following week caught somewhere between excitement and nerves as she waited for the dinner with Liam. She worked her shifts at the diner like usual, but everything felt a little different now, as if her world had tilted slightly, and she was seeing things through a new lens. She caught herself smiling at random moments, thinking about the way Liam had looked at her that day in the coffee shop, as if she mattered, as if she was someone worth listening to. The night of their dinner, she stood in front of the mirror in her small apartment, smoothing the fabric of the simple dress she had carefully chosen. It was not expensive, but it fit her well and made her feel confident. She brushed her hair one last time, took a deep breath, and whispered to her reflection, "You deserve this. Do not be scared." When she arrived at the restaurant, she was surprised to find that Liam had chosen a warm, intimate place instead of something flashy. He waved her over with a smile, standing as she approached. "Emma, you look incredible," he said, pulling out her chair for her. Emma felt her cheeks flush, but she managed to smile back. "Thank you. You look nice too." Dinner with Liam felt effortless. They talked about art, travel, food, and all the little things that made life meaningful. Liam shared stories about his childhood, how he had grown up in a small town himself, and how he had worked hard to get to where he was. Emma listened intently, realizing that behind the confident exterior was someone who had once struggled, too. It made her feel even more comfortable with him. At one point, Liam leaned in slightly and said, "You know, Emma, you really surprised me the night we met. I never expected someone to sit at my table by mistake and then make me forget why I was even there in the first place." Emma laughed softly. "I still cannot believe I did that. I was so embarrassed." Liam smiled. "Do not be. It was the best mistake I have had in a long time." His words warmed her more than the candlelight on the table. The waiter brought their food, and for a moment, Emma felt a pang of self-consciousness as she wondered whether she belonged in a place like this. She worried that Liam would notice the way she hesitated before picking up the expensive-looking silverware. But then she glanced up and saw Liam watching her with nothing but kindness in his eyes, and her nerves eased. As they ate, Liam asked, "How is the art project you mentioned? You said you were saving up for something big." Emma swallowed, surprised he remembered. "Yes, I have been setting aside a little each month. I want to open a small studio, a place where kids, adults, anyone can come to create. I want it to be a space where people feel safe to express themselves." Liam nodded, his admiration clear. "That is beautiful, Emma. And you can do it. I know you can." She smiled, touched by his confidence in her. "I hope so. It just feels like everything is moving so slowly. Like I am taking tiny steps." "Tiny steps still move you forward," Liam said softly. "Do not underestimate them." After dinner, they walked outside together, the cool evening breeze brushing against Emma's skin. They paused on the sidewalk, and Liam turned to her with a gentle expression. "I had a really great time tonight." "Me too," Emma replied, her voice barely above a whisper. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Liam stepped closer, careful not to invade her space, waiting for a sign. Emma felt her heart race, but she did not step back. She wanted to be close to him. He reached for her hand, his touch warm and steady. "Emma," he said quietly, "I know we just met, and I do not want to rush anything, but I would really like to keep seeing you. If you want that too." Emma looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of insincerity, but all she saw was honesty. She nodded slowly, feeling something inside her shift. "Yes," she said, "I want that too." Liam smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that made her stomach flutter. "Good. Then this is just the beginning." As he walked her to her car, Emma felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Real, tangible hope that maybe her life was finally changing, that maybe she was stepping into a new chapter she had always been too afraid to imagine. And as she drove home that night, she realized she could not wait to see where this new beginning would take her. Emma spent the next few days feeling like she was walking on air. Each time she thought about Liam, her heart fluttered in her chest. It wasn't just his looks, though he was undeniably handsome. It was the way he made her feel seen, heard, and valued. She had always kept her dreams close, hidden away, but now they felt a little more attainable, as if the universe was finally opening up a door for her. Still, she couldn't help but wonder if it was all too good to be true. A man like Liam, with everything he had, could probably have anyone he wanted. What could he possibly see in her? A struggling waitress with a big dream but little else. She shook the thoughts away. She deserved this, didn't she? She had worked hard for everything she had, and maybe it was time to accept that she was worthy of more than just scraping by. When Liam called her a few days later, Inviting her to an art gallery opening where he was hosting an event, Emma felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had never been to anything like that before, and the idea of being surrounded by so many influential people made her feel out of place. But Liam reassured her, telling her to wear something she felt comfortable in, and that he wanted her there, not for appearances, but because he genuinely wanted her company. That night, she found herself standing in front of her mirror again, this time dressed in a simple but elegant black dress. She wasn't used to feeling this good about how she looked, but the dress seemed to fit just right, and the heels, though a little uncomfortable, gave her a boost of confidence. She took a deep breath before leaving, telling herself she could do this. The gallery was nothing like Emma had imagined. The room was filled with people dressed in designer clothes, laughing and chatting as they admired the art on display. Emma felt a little like a fish out of water, but Liam was there in an instant, guiding her through the crowd with a hand on her back, introducing her to some of the guests. He made her feel like she belonged, like she wasn't just some outsider at a fancy event. "You look beautiful," he said quietly as they moved through the crowd, his words sending a rush of warmth through her. "I'm glad you came." Emma smiled, her nerves easing. "I'm glad I came too," she said, her voice soft but genuine. Liam led her to a small corner of the gallery where a table with drinks and hors d'oeuvres was set up. They stood there, talking and laughing, Emma feeling more at ease with every passing moment. It was strange how easy it was to talk to him, how natural everything felt. As they spoke, Emma realized that she was not just looking at Liam as a potential romantic partner, but as someone who was helping her see her own worth. He didn't see her as a waitress, as someone who had to work hard just to make ends meet. He saw her as an equal, as someone with potential, and it made her feel powerful in a way she had never experienced before. "So, tell me more about your art," Liam asked, his eyes genuinely curious. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I've always loved painting," she said, her voice gaining confidence. "It's my escape. I want to open a place for other people like me, people who don't have the means to access art the way some people do. A place where anyone can come and just create." Liam nodded thoughtfully, his gaze focused on her. "I think that's an amazing idea," he said, his voice sincere. "And I think you're going to make it happen. I can help you with that, you know. I have connections, resources, I can guide you if you need it." Emma blinked, taken aback by his offer. "You'd really do that? Help me with my dream." Liam smiled. "Of course. I believe in you, Emma." His words meant more than she could say. She had never really had someone believe in her like that, not in the way Liam did. As they continued to talk, Emma began to realize that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something incredible. But as the night wore on, and the event began to wind down, Emma noticed the way some of the other guests looked at her, as if they were trying to place her, wondering who she was and how she had come to be standing next to Liam. It made her feel uncomfortable, self-conscious again, like she didn't quite belong in their world. But Liam seemed to sense her discomfort. He leaned in slightly, his voice low. "Don't worry about them, Emma. You belong here as much as anyone else." His words were like a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of self-doubt. Emma smiled, feeling her confidence return. The rest of the night was a blur of laughter and conversation, and when the event finally came to a close, Liam walked her to her car. "I had a great time tonight," Emma said, feeling a little sad that it was over. "Me too," Liam replied, his eyes soft as he looked at her. "I'll call you soon, okay?" Emma nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "I'll be waiting." As she drove home that night, Emma realized something she hadn't fully understood before. She was worthy of more than just surviving. She was worthy of love, of success, of everything she had dreamed about. And with Liam by her side, maybe, just maybe, she could make those dreams a reality. In the days that followed the gallery event, Emma felt herself slipping into a rhythm she had never experienced before, a blend of excitement, inspiration, and a quiet sense of belonging. She still worked her shifts at the diner, still counted every dollar carefully, but something inside her was changing. She woke up each morning with a new kind of energy, a spark that had been missing for far too long. Liam kept his promise and reached out often. Sometimes he called just to check in. Sometimes he sent her pictures of art pieces he thought she would love, and sometimes he simply asked how her day was going. It felt strange at first, having someone so attentive, someone who cared about the small details of her life. but Emma found herself growing more and more comfortable with it. One afternoon, after finishing her shift, she returned home to find a small package waiting at her door. Her name was written in a neat, familiar handwriting. Curious, she picked it up and carried it inside. When she opened it, she found a beautiful sketchbook with thick, high-quality pages and a set of fine pencils. A small note was tucked inside. I remember you said your sketchbook was almost full. I hope this one helps bring your ideas to life. Keep creating. You are more talented than you think. Liam. Emma sat down on the edge of her bed, holding the sketchbook gently, her fingers tracing the smooth cover. No one had ever given her something like this before, something that showed how closely they had listened, how much they cared about what mattered to her. For a long moment, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude and disbelief. Later that evening, she called Liam. When he picked up, his voice was warm. Hey Emma, did you get it? I did, she said softly. Thank you so much. It is perfect. You deserve good tools, he replied. Your art deserves space to grow. His confidence in her made her chest tighten in a way she was still learning to understand. Over the next few days, Emma began sketching again, filling the pages with ideas she had kept locked away for too long. She drew scenes from the diner, portraits of customers, landscapes she had never visited but dreamed of seeing one day. For the first time in years, the act of creating felt like breathing. A few days later, Liam invited her to see his office. I want to show you something, he said. Emma hesitated, unsure what to expect, but she trusted him. When she arrived at his building, she was struck by its size and elegance. The glass walls reflected the afternoon sun, and the lobby buzzed with energy. Liam greeted her with a warm smile and led her upstairs to a quiet corner office. Close your eyes, he said. Emma raised an eyebrow, but obeyed. She heard him move around the room, a soft click of a light switch, and then he said, Okay, open. She gasped. The room was filled with her sketches. The ones she had shown him, the ones she had taken pictures of and sent late at night. Even the small doodles she had thought were insignificant. He had printed them, framed some, pinned others on boards. Liam, what is all this? She whispered, stunned. He stepped closer, his voice gentle. I wanted you to see your art the way I see it. The way the world could see it. You have real talent, Emma, and I want to help you build your studio, if you will let me. Emma felt the room spin for a moment. She had never imagined someone would believe in her dreams so strongly, let alone someone like Liam. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice trembling. Liam looked at her with sincerity in his eyes. Because you are extraordinary. Because you deserve a chance. And because I care about you, Emma. More than you know. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt tears gather at the corners of her eyes, not from sadness, but from the weight of being seen, of being valued. She took a shaky breath and whispered, Thank you, Liam. Liam took her hand gently, his touch steady and warm. This is just the beginning, Emma, and I am right here with you. And in that moment, standing in a room filled with her dreams, Emma realized her life was changing in ways she had never dared to imagine. As the weeks passed, Emma found herself slipping into a life that felt both exciting and surreal. With Liam's support, she was slowly starting to build the foundation for her dream art studio. She had always believed that dreams were meant for people who were lucky enough to be born into the right circumstances. But now, with every step she took, she realized that maybe, just maybe, it was possible for her too. The diner was still her main job, but Liam had connected her with a few people in the art world, people who believed in her potential and wanted to help her. With their support, she was able to secure a small space for her studio, a place where she could start bringing her vision to life. It wasn't much yet, but it was hers. And for the first time in her life, Emma felt like she was on the path she had always dreamed of. But as her world was expanding, her relationship with Liam was evolving too, in ways that she hadn't expected. It had started with small gestures, like sharing meals and long conversations, but over time, it became something deeper. They had spent countless nights talking about everything from their childhoods to their hopes for the future. With every conversation, Emma felt more drawn to him, more connected to him, but she also felt a fear growing in her chest. Was she ready to let someone in? Was she ready to trust someone with her heart after everything she had been through? One evening, as they sat together at a quiet restaurant, Emma found herself looking at Liam in a way she hadn't before. His laughter, his kindness, the way he had always been there for her. It made her realize how much she had come to care for him. But before she could say anything, Liam reached for her hand across the table. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, everything around them faded. "Emma," he said softly, his voice sincere. "I've been thinking a lot about us lately, about what we've built together. I care about you. A lot more than I expected." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had known he cared about her, but hearing it out loud felt different. She wasn't sure what to say, so she simply nodded, feeling a rush of warmth in her chest. Liam squeezed her hand gently. "I know this is all moving fast, but I just wanted to be honest with you. I'm not expecting anything, but I want you to know that I'm here, no matter what." Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing. She had always been the one who kept her feelings locked away, but in that moment, she knew she had to open up, to be vulnerable. She had to trust that this wasn't a dream, that this was real. "I care about you too, Liam," she said quietly, her voice trembling with emotion. "More than I ever thought I could." Liam smiled, his eyes soft with affection. "Then let's take this one step at a time," he said. "We don't have to rush anything. But I want to be a part of your journey, Emma. In every way." Emma smiled, her heart full. She had never imagined a life like this, one where she felt supported, seen, and truly loved. But with Liam by her side, it felt possible. As the days went on, they continued to build their connection, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. And as Emma stood in her new art studio, surrounded by the paintings and sketches that had once seemed so out of reach, she realized that this was just the beginning. With Liam's love and support, she was no longer just a waitress with a dream. She was an artist, a woman with a future. And for the first time in her life, she believed that anything was possible. Months passed, and Emma's life continued to evolve in ways she had never imagined. The art studio was coming together, slowly but surely, with every brushstroke and sketch she made. It had become more than just a dream. It was her reality, one she had worked hard to build. With Liam's support, she had gained the courage to take risks, to step outside her comfort zone and pursue something that once seemed impossible. Their relationship had blossomed too, growing from the foundation of friendship and mutual respect into something deeper, something neither of them had expected. Yet, as their bond strengthened, Emma found herself grappling with feelings of uncertainty. She had never been good at letting people get close, at truly trusting someone with her heart. The walls she had spent years building around herself were starting to come down, but it was terrifying. She wasn't sure if she was ready for this level of vulnerability. Liam seemed to sense her hesitation, and as always, he was patient, never pushing her, but offering her the space she needed to figure things out. It was a Saturday afternoon when Emma arrived at the studio, her heart full of anticipation. She had just finished a meeting with a potential investor, someone who was interested in supporting her dream. It was a big step forward, and she felt a sense of pride that she hadn't felt in years. As she walked through the door, she was greeted by the sight of Liam standing there, waiting for her. His smile, as always, made her heart flutter. He had come by to see the progress, to offer his support, but there was something different in the air today. "Hey," Liam said, his voice soft but full of warmth. "How did it go?" Emma smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. "It went really well. They're interested. I think this could be the start of something big." Liam nodded, his eyes sparkling with pride. "I knew you could do it," he said, stepping closer to her. "You've worked so hard, Emma. You deserve this." She felt her chest tighten with emotion. For the first time in her life, someone believed in her so completely, so without hesitation. It wasn't just the success of the studio, it was the way Liam had always seen her, truly seen her, flaws and all. She had never felt more accepted, more loved, than she did in this moment. "Thank you, Liam," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. "I couldn't have done this without you." He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You don't need me to do it. You've always had it in you. I just gave you a little push." Emma shook her head, her eyes brimming with tears. "No, you've done more than that. You've been my rock, my anchor, through everything. I don't think you know how much that means to me." Liam's expression softened, and he took her hands in his. "You don't have to thank me. I believe in you, Emma, more than you'll ever know." In that moment, Emma realized something. She had spent so much of her life afraid of failure, afraid of not being good enough, afraid of loving and being loved. But here, in this studio, With Liam by her side, she understood that love wasn't something to fear. It wasn't about perfection or having everything figured out. It was about connection, about supporting each other through the highs and the lows. She was ready to embrace it all. Later that evening, after a quiet dinner together, Liam surprised her with a small, elegant box. Emma looked at him, her curiosity piqued. "What's this?" she asked, her voice soft. Liam smiled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Open it." Emma carefully lifted the lid, and inside was a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a paintbrush. She gasped, her hand trembling as she picked it up. "Liam, this is beautiful." "But why?" Liam leaned in, his voice low and sincere. "Because this is a symbol of your dream, Emma, of everything you've worked for, and everything you will continue to create. You are an artist, and you deserve to have your art recognized, celebrated." Emma felt her heart swell with emotion. She had never expected something so meaningful, so thoughtful. This wasn't just a gift. It was a reminder of everything she had accomplished and everything still to come. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I would do without you." Liam's smile deepened, and he gently took her hand. "You'll never have to find out. I'm not going anywhere, Emma." In that moment, everything felt right. For the first time in her life, Emma felt truly at home, both in herself and in the world. With Liam by her side, and with the studio taking shape, she knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter filled with love, art, and endless possibilities. As the weeks continued to unfold, Emma found herself surrounded by a life she had once only been able to imagine. The studio was nearly ready to open, the walls filled with her art and the art of others who had found comfort and inspiration in the space she dreamed into existence. Every day she walked through the studio, she felt a sense of purpose she had never experienced before, a deep and satisfying pride that came from building something meaningful with her own hands. Liam had been there for every step, helping when she needed him, listening when she doubted herself, reminding her to take pride in her progress. But more than anything else, he had shown her a kind of love she had never known before, a love that was patient, steady, and unwavering. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow through the studio windows, Emma stood in the center of the room, taking in everything she had accomplished. She was so absorbed in the moment that she did not hear Liam walk in until he was standing right behind her. "It is beautiful," he said softly, his voice filled with admiration. Emma turned to look at him, her heart swelling with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Liam smiled and stepped closer, gently taking her hands in his. "Emma, you did all of this. I may have been here to help, but this dream, this studio, this life you are building, this is all you." Emma felt tears well up in her eyes, but they were tears of joy, of gratitude, of a future she could finally believe in. She leaned into him, allowing herself to feel the warmth of his embrace. For a long moment, they simply stood there, holding each other as the last light of day faded away. After a minute, Liam pulled back slightly, just enough to look her in the eyes. "There is something I want to talk to you about," he said, his voice gentle but serious. Emma felt her heart skip a beat. "What is it?" Liam took a deep breath, as if gathering his courage. "Emma, I know our journey together started in the most unexpected way, and I know neither of us planned for any of this to happen. But I cannot imagine my life without you. You have brought so much light into my world, and I want to be there for you, not just now, but always." Emma felt her breath catch in her throat as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her heart began to race, her vision blurring with emotion. "Liam," she whispered. He opened the box to reveal a delicate ring, simple yet elegant, adorned with a small gemstone that shimmered in the fading light. "Emma Brooks," he said softly, his voice full of love and sincerity. "Will you marry me?" For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Emma felt every memory, every struggle, every moment of doubt flash through her mind, all leading her to this point. She had once believed she was not worthy of a love like this, that her dreams were too small, too fragile to ever be realized. But here she was, standing in the studio she had built with her own hands, loved by a man who believed in her with every part of his being. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered, "Yes, Liam, Yes, I will. Liam exhaled a breath he had been holding, his face breaking into a smile so full of joy that Emma felt her heart soar. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and she threw her arms around him, laughing through her tears. I love you, she said into his shoulder, her voice shaking. I love you too, Emma, he replied, holding her tightly. They stayed that way for a moment before Liam pulled back slightly, his eyes shining with happiness. There is one more surprise, he said. Emma raised an eyebrow, wiping her tears. Another one? Liam nodded and walked her toward the back of the studio. When he opened the door, Emma gasped. The room was filled with people, friends, supporters, artists who had been inspired by her journey. They clapped and cheered, their faces glowing with pride and joy. A banner stretched across the room that read, "Congratulations on the grand opening of Emma's Art Haven." Emma covered her mouth with her hands, overwhelmed. Liam, you did all this? We did this, he said gently. This is your moment, Emma. You deserve to be celebrated. As she looked around the room, at the faces of the people who believed in her, supported her, and loved her, Emma realized just how far she had come. She was no longer the woman who doubted herself at every turn. She was strong, capable, deserving, and loved. And as she stood in the center of her studio, surrounded by everything she had built and everyone who cared for her, Emma knew that she had finally found her place in the world. A place full of love, art, and endless possibility. A place she could call home.